overtime. Give me 5 minutes. Give me 5. Don't ask? I'm not going to ask you guys. I'm going to just do it anyway. So there. No bathroom breaks. Because I'm telling you right now, no bathroom break. It's just way too painful for me to watch. You'll get it when I move along here. Okay. The title of my message is this: Why not me? Why not me? Seriously. Now, when you read that title of this message, how do you interpret what that says? Yeah. Why not me? How do you interpret that? What tone? Okay, selfish, like why not me? Really? Anyone else? How did you interpret the title of this message? Okay. Yeah. Seriously? Actually, I want to tell you, the title of this message basically means this: why not me? And I'm being absolutely serious. That's the way I wanted it to come across. I knew it came across in many different ways. What I want to do, let's go to the next slide. This is a beautiful story. It's in 2 Samuel chapter 4. Jonathan, son of Saul, had a son who was lame in both feet. He was 5 years old. He was 5 years old when the news about basically Saul, his grandfather, and Jonathan, his dad, came from Jezreel. His nurse picked him up and fled. But as she hurried to leave, she fell and he became crippled. His name was Mephibosheth. Now, what I want us to understand with this is I don't want to get into a lot of the details, other than the fact that the first king of Israel, his grandfather, his son Jonathan, died in battle. And they were fleeing because their lives were at risk. And the nurse, the one that was taking care of this 5-year-old boy, got up and was running. And basically, a lot of scholars have kind of expounded upon this. And she fell and crippled the boy. I just want us to understand this, in this, before I get into the meat of what I want to share, is that my heart just went out for the nurse that was taking care of this boy. Because there's a blame factor here that she was at fault for crippling the former king's son, or the grandson. And here you have Jonathan. Now his dad is dead. His grandfather is dead because of battle, and they're after him. And now he's crippled. And I look at this story, and I think to myself, you see other people that suffer and other people that have hurt, and we have all suffered. If I ask you this morning, how many of you have had a time in your life where you have been through some human suffering, where you have hurt, where you lost someone, whether you've been through a relationship breakup or you have been through hardship at work, employment of your parents, your own children. All of us sitting here could say we have been through some sort of hardship in our lives. And what I experienced this last week, I had to say to myself, why not me? Seriously. Now, let me get you this gist of it. First of all, I'm not saying that what I went through was anything spectacular. Only thing I want to share is what God taught me. Last week, I was gonna be gone. I initially started off, our whole family was going to go down because I'm a car guy, and my car got invited to a show in L.A. I've never been invited to something like this. I really wanted to go. Jill had to work. Joel had school. So I said, you know what? I'm going, and I'm going to go by myself. So I took off. I headed out down I-5 all the way to Los Angeles. And when I got to Los Angeles, I realized, oh my goodness, what I saw on the computer of where a good place to stay would be and what it was when I got there is two different things. Now, I was late in coming because I wasn't sure if I was going to go. It was kind of a last-minute thing within about a month, but the hotel that put on the show, or where everybody was staying, was all sold out. And so everybody's booked around that entire area. And so I picked the only thing that was available and at least had some pictures, and it was Motel 6. And when I got there, the light was barely on. Okay? It was barely on. I mean, when you pull into a Motel 6 and it's a gated Motel 6, that should tell you something. I've been all across the country. I've stayed at Motel 6. I have never stayed in a gated Motel 6 before. So I pull in and buzz the buzzer, and I said, well, I've got reservations. I pull on in, and I get my room, and they say, well, it's the last one we got. I go, woo, and I get through it. Well, I did have reservations, so they had to give me something. And I pulled the car around. I offloaded the car from the trailer and parked my truck in the car in the trailer and went up into my room and opened the door, and I go, oh, my land. This is a trap. This is just bad. I remember calling Jill saying, you know what, if you guys were with me, I'd be out of here. Because I thought I could tolerate it. And I mean, it was just bad. And so I went out, parked, and started cleaning my car up, ready for kind of to go to the Speedway the next day. And I saw this one couple, this Asian mom and their two little kids, pull in, go into a room, come out, get back in their car, and drive off. And I go, I hope they come back. They didn't. And I went to the front desk and says, why gated Motel 6? And she says to me, well, because we are such a high crime area that there's been drugs, prostitution, and gun shooting here that we had to, or the city was going to shut us down. Boy, did I choose wisely. And I didn't have anywhere else to go. Everybody else is booked except the hotels that want to charge $300 and $400 a night. Didn't have that kind of money. So I went to a place to get something to eat that night, and so I got in my truck and drove down the street. I mean, I noticed. This is where you come in, dude. Juan, stand up and turn around. He does not usually dress like this. You can sit down, Juan. You can sit. I looked around, and everywhere I looked, I was the only white guy. I'm the only white guy. Now, in cars, in businesses, where I went, it's African American or Hispanic. I'm the only white guy. And so I walk into this Panda Express, and I'm thinking, I don't speak Spanish. I'm thinking, I need Juan right now. And I go up there, I order my food, I sit down, and there's two employees sitting at a table taking a break. And so, I need to ask this question. So I sat down next to him, and I said, I noticed, is there any other white people in town? And they look at me, and they start laughing. The girl who is half Asian, half Hispanic, she covers her mouth, and the guy, and they start looking at each other, and they keep laughing. I go, wait a minute. Why are you laughing? And they said, white people don't come here. Really? She goes, yeah, you can find white people 6 miles that way, 6 miles that way, 6 miles that way, or 6 miles that way, but none here. Okay, I come in peace. It's seriously. And I said to him, I think this is kind of cool. And Juan, this is where I was really thinking, you know what? I began to feel like what a lot of the minorities feel like that come into our area, into the Caucasian America. Exactly. That's what I was thinking. And I told them, I told the employees, I said, you know what, I think this is good for me. And this is where I'm going to be for a couple days, because I'm from Oregon. And I believe that this is where I need to be. And they started laughing at me, and we just carried on a conversation, and I left, and I made a couple friends. It was really neat. So I went back to this is the ghetto, this is the red light. It's everything that you imagine in a movie where it's dark and the lights are flashing. That's where I was. And I won't kid you, I was a little bit scared. But I went back to my hotel room, I sat down, I was contemplating, how can I get out of here? I really want out of here. And the Lord spoke to me clearly and said, I want you to stay here because I want to teach you something. And so I stayed there that night. And yes, I heard gunshots. Yes, the sirens blaring all the time. And the next day I got up and I went to a track to race a little bit and meet some guys, and then I came back to the hotel and spend the next night there. And then a couple carloads of girls show up. And by the way, half the people that there live there all month. This is not Hotel 6. This is Apartment 6. And so I'm meeting the local color of this community. And these girls pull up, and they're all getting out, and you got to understand the culture. You may not get it. I wish I could have videoed. I'm cleaning my car off after getting back, and they're coming by, and they're saying, hey, cool car. And they're talking. They're just shucking and jiving, and they're just doing their thing, and I'm dialoguing with them, and I'm smiling, and they're starting a little dialogue with them, and they go up the stairs, and they're in the room right next to me. You may not know who they are, but they came that night. They're local. They live there. They came that night to do drugs. I go to the front desk, and I'm asking the lady, why does my room smell so bad? It smells like skunk or something. It's bad. It's just bad. And it smelled worse after that night because of the people next to me. And she goes, well, it's because people smoke pot and do meth, and that's why it stinks so bad in there. We can't get the smell out. Now, I'm about that time, after a few more gunshots, the next morning comes around. The guys that were at the car show knew I was staying at the Motel 6 and knew the reputation, and they're wheeling and dealing and trying to get me out of there. And they did. They got me out. I remember going back to my room and said, Lord, can I go now? I want to go. I want my mommy. They got me a room with somebody that was there that opened up. They felt so sorry for me. The guy let me bunk with him, room with him. And so then the next day, going to bed that night, Bob, great guy, a sheriff from the LA area there, was my, and so he knew what was going on. Bob, great guy. He owns a car just like mine, similar to it, and he noticed that night I was starting to get sick. I was not feeling good. And yes, if you don't know, I had about 6 months ago I had a kidney stone. Brutal. When they say the nurses all come in and go, you know what this feels like, right? It's just like having a baby. This is how it's like. It's almost like they're enjoying what they're telling you. It's like, why? I'm in pain and you're smiling. That doesn't work. And it's like, but at least when I told the nurse, I said, at least when you're done, you have something to show for it. We don't. And so that night I wasn't feeling good, and Bob said, man, I'll take you to the ER. I'll take you there. Greatest guy, great story, this guy, Bob. Single guy, had been single for probably 20 years, and he was happily single. So you can imagine that story. I never told him I was a pastor. I never talked religious things to him at all. I'll get to that. But that night, I waited for him to go get to bed and go to sleep, because the last thing I wanted to do is impose on somebody, take me to the ER. Well, I'm in there suffering. I got this person out there waiting for me. And it's like, so I got in my truck. It was about 11 o'clock at night, and I drove to the Presbyterian Hospital, which is, again, in the ghetto. Really, I mean, just driving around the hospital just didn't look good. I pull in, I go into the ER, and they admit me, and they put an IV in me, and they're getting me going, and they said, so who drove you here? I did. Do you want to drive home? Do you want to drive back? Yes, I want to drive back. I don't want to take a taxi, then I got to figure out how to get back to get my car, and okay, well, we can't give you any narcotics. So that's fine, just whatever you give me. So they just give me a shot of mega dose of ibuprofen or whatever they call it. And so I'm like laying there for 4 hours, just in absolute misery. And then they come in and say, well, there's nothing more we can do for you, but we do have a prescription for you. And so you can take this prescription, it's Oxy, and you can take this prescription. There's only one 24-hour pharmacy around in the ghetto. It's just around the corner, down the street, of about a quarter of a mile, and you can go there. I go, great, thanks. I'm getting this stuff, and I'm literally, it's hard to walk. It is hard to walk. You are just like, you are tweaking out. On my way to the truck, and I get in the truck, and I drive to the pharmacy. I go, man, all I have to do is go in there, get this prescription, go back to my hotel room, and feel good again. I get to the pharmacy. This is about 3:30 in the morning. I get to the pharmacy, I walk in, and everything is closed. And I go to the guy down the aisle, and I said, what, this is a 24-hour. He goes, it's okay, it's all right. They just went 5 minutes ago on their lunch break. They'll be back in an hour. Why not me? Why not me? And so I go back out in the truck, and there's other cars out there, and there's people in the cars, and there's people going in and out, and it's 3, and I go, what are they doing? And I'm sitting in my truck, and I'm a wreck. I just can't sit still. I actually fit into that neighborhood in about this time. The guy in the truck next to me is tweaking out, the guy in the other next to me, it's like, man, I'm at home. So that's the longest hour I think I've ever experienced, waiting for my drugs. It's like, what have I come to? I used to pastor in Almsville, and now I'm in LA waiting for drugs at a midnight pharmacy. And so I go in there, finally they open up. This will be ready in about 25 to 30 minutes. So I go back out in the truck and tweak out and come back in, get the drug, drive back to the hotel. Finally, I get back up. Of course, the elevator that you're supposed to take to your room is broken. So I got to walk the entire length of the entire hotel down to the other elevator at the other end of the hotel, up the elevator, and all the way down to my room. Can you take the stairs, Dane? No, because they exit outdoors and they're locked after hours. Anyway, so I get up there. I can't win. I get up to my room. I'm popping Oxy. It's like, this is a confessional time. That's what I'm doing. I get to my hotel room, take the medication, lay down, and it's waiting for everything to kick in, the warm feeling to come over you. And I finally pass out. I finally fall asleep. I wake up the next morning, which is, I think I only slept about an hour and a half. by that time. I wake up because I have to use the restroom, it's like, so I get up and, after I've taken Oxy and Flomax and Advil and Sleep Aid and whatever else I could take just to get my, I'm glad they didn't give me a gun. That's all I could say. I was glad they didn't give me a gun. And so I walk into the bathroom, and the bathroom starts to spin. It's just like, oh, no. And that's the last thing I remember. I have no idea how long. But all of a sudden, I hear this weird sound, and it's going in and out of hearing. It's like you're hearing in like 3 frames per second or something. And all of a sudden, it gets louder and louder and louder, and I realize it's a fan. And then I wake up, and I look next to me, and there's the toilet. I'm looking at the side of a toilet. Now, I want you to know that I'm a pastor of a church. And I drive by myself all the way down to Los Angeles to live in the ghetto, to get incredible amount of pain, only to, as a pastor, to wake up beside the side of a toilet. I have arrived. You can officially accept my resignation. Anyway, there's some lessons that the Lord has taught me, and this is where I want to let the rubber meet the road. The lessons that God taught me is, 1, people hurt, and we are the cure. People hurt out there, and we are the cure. You are the hands and the feet of God. And what is so funny? All right, I think I'm going to lose you. I got some very important things to share. Hang in there. The next thing is this, is I've learned that I do not determine who receives the gospel and who doesn't by what they look like and how they act or how they're behaving or what they're doing. We do not determine who gets to hear the gospel. You are not to make that type of judgment upon somebody else who receives. I got to experience people that I have never experienced before. Prostitutes, drug dealers, drug addicts. I got to rub shoulders with them. And it changed me. And how dare we ever judge? You know what scares me right now? And I'm just going to say this, and this may be hard to take, but I hope you don't shoot me later. But if you do, I've been there and done that. But I pray that during this political season right now, that the people don't see the church fighting amongst themselves during this election time, where we talk so much we talk so much about stupid politics. And the church, is the devil going to sit back and laugh while the church starts to fight each other over political garbage? And they win. The devil wins because all he needs to do is have a political race where there's just simply no good candidates. And watch the church implode because we've had it our way for so long. I pray that we realize, and Ken hit the nail on the head, I pray that we would realize that God is on the throne, and it doesn't matter who is voted into president. Are you with me? There's some Christians I'd like to say, shut up. If you don't have, yeah, that's right. Thank you. It's like if you're sharing Christ, keep speaking. Okay, let's move on. Really quick, I want to close on this. The guy that I roomed with, didn't know Jesus, and he was spouting off everything he wanted to say. And I just let him talk. And I just loved him. And I just had a great conversation with him. I would just ask him questions. And then he said, you know what I really love? I just love watching a TV program called How the Universe Was Made. I've got every episode recorded, and I love watching it too. We spent the next half an hour just dialoguing, talking about the universe. And I said, who was I think I understand who the first cause, the uncaused cause was. It's God. He goes, well, I don't know. I work out with somebody that's all they talk about is Jesus, 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 Jesus. But what about this person? So I gave him an answer. I said, well, what about this? God's grace moves and works. And if he's going to, you see, it's one thing about religion. Religion is man trying to reach God. But if there is a God, I guarantee it, he's not going to let us try to find him. He's going to try to find us. That's the kind of God I want to go after. He's the one I want. And I said, you know what? God loves you so much, he's coming after you. He goes, that's good. I like that. That makes more sense. And I'm praying for him. Every head bowed and every eye closed.